Hello there, Seraphim17 once again, introducing you to my Devil May Cry 3 Dante Must Die difficulty video walkthrough. This is mission 12, The Hunter and the Hunted, and this is one of the worst missions of the game. Not only is it very challenging in the combat, but it also has a boss that took me the longest to record because I hate him. And I don't hate him because he's hard, I hate him because the move that I used to kill him is so finicky with the fucking input that every time I tried to do it, he did a different move instead. And I kept getting killed and injured because I pressed the right buttons, I pressed the right direction, and he did a different fucking move. And frustration is not the word, folks. I was on this boss for about 2 fucking hours, I hated it. The only boss that took even remotely as close to that was Virgil 3, and that's because when he gets to the last part of his life, he gets super aggressive, and I was getting really sloppy. But this boss just blows. But I've talked about gameplay a lot in these videos, so I'm actually going to talk about a question that a subscriber sent me. So all you want to do on this is just fight the way you've been fighting through the game, but you need to be as aggressive as you can. You're devil triggered, so you can't be interrupted. You will take damage though, so do bear that in mind. You just want to become a wrecking machine. And if you die and you've got yellow orbs, you can just continue and go from the room that you made it to, so it's not too bad. But the question is from a guy called Sofrek1991. He's an awesome subscriber of mine. And he's basically asked me what I think of microtransactions. And he used Batman Arkham City as a good example of how the developers these days are practically selling us clone stamps of the exact same content, just, you know, with a different mask on them, and they're charging us money for it. So, me personally, dude, I fucking hate microtransactions. I think microtransactions are the future, but they're the future for businessmen to control gaming and to do the single and solitary thing that they want, and that is to make money. And the one thing that's upsetting about the creative medium that is game design and games in general is it's creative people being lassoed and funded by greedy corporate people. It's that simple. And at the backdrive of every single successful game is the sole concept of we need to make money with it. Because at the end of the day, regardless of how artistic and interesting and intelligent a game is, it was made to make money. And it's all because that is how the industry works, that's how society works, that's how economics works, and it's bullshit. And unfortunately, it's how it'll always be. And it's the reason why, you know, Call of Duties make so much money, because so much money's put into them, and they adhere to a stereotype that prioritises fund and finances rather than creativity. And they know that if they milk it, they will get currency, and they milk it ridiculously. But microtransactions themselves could be cool, they could be a good idea, but the problem is they're so eager to sell you bullshit at overpriced margins, and there's no need for it. And what it generally does now is it gets to the point where they're designing half a game and then selling you the other half later on during its cycle, and it gets to the point where you wonder how many of these assets were generated before I even purchased the fucking game. And it always brings me back to the same realisation that if this is the stuff they made while the game was supposedly done, how good could the game have been if they'd have invested that time in making it a better game? It's so silly. And I think it stems from the way that games are going now, because everything is going to be, you know, fucking monthly subscriptions, microtransacted to death. That just seems to be the direction they want to go. And it stems from this MMO mentality of, if we can get people on the edge, you know, constantly chasing this carrot on the stick and giving us money, then we are succeeding. If we can keep them in this, you know, fucking dribbly days of just retardation, where all they're doing is constantly putting in credit card information and clicking mercilessly, staring like zombies clicking, staring like zombies clicking, and that's all that they're doing, we're going to make money off this. Because at the end of the day, they're breeding digital slaves to something that essentially is an endorphin rush from input that you get from clicking buttons. And they're monetizing it, essentially, and it's the way it was always going to go. But now, because there's more exposure thanks to the internet and thanks to things that we see through gaming devices, it just looks the whole lot more egregious. I mean, look at Farmville, look at all the fucking Facebook games, all that kind of dog shit. It's like these things only exist because people are bored and they want something to do. and that's something to do just so happens to be a virtual farm where they can pay the people that made it to get additional trimmings for this fucking pointless farm that they're building, to show their friends and say, look, my guy's got a donkey hat, your guy doesn't have a donkey hat, that cost me £5, I'm so happy. It's like, fuck that shit. Fuck all of it, man. I don't even think that stuff is games, in my opinion. I don't even think MMOs are games. MMOs to me are just an intravenous, fucking link to your wallet, to the developer that made this experience that never ends, that has almost no skill, no point, and is just... It's just hypnotism. That's all it is. It's digital hypnotism, and I hate it. And I've got a friend right now who's getting really into it, and he's neglecting his friends, and it's like... People don't see what these games do because they get so deep into them that all it is all they know. It's like fucking religion. It's like unitology, man. MMOs and microtransactions are going to be the rise of unitology, and next thing we know, we're all going to get gang raped by necromorphs. And if that's not a bad thing, I don't know what is. But microtransactions could be good if they were handled well, but unfortunately they will always have Microsoft behind them and thus will never be handled well. And it's all because of the one universal factor, is Microsoft is invested in money and nothing else. They want money, money, money. And it's just how it is. It's the eternal paradox. Creativity, money. It will always be in complete contradiction with each other, and it will never survive without the other, because it's just, it's a timeless symbiosis, it's all it is. And it sucks. But who knows, maybe they'll find better ways of doing it, so that we can actually enjoy the content. For instance, I think the season passes are the way to go, because you pay a lump sum and get everything. You get all of it. And that way it doesn't quite feel as offensive as constantly paying, 60 Microsoft points to get a free baseball cap that fits on the end of your character's bell end that you never see because he never gets naked. Like, you don't need that nonsense. It's such an interesting topic, and when we do the next episode of Time Cop, I'll probably bring this up to see what the boys think, because I just think it is just... It's like being a dominatrix to some poor little Asian girl. She's on her knees in a school uniform, completely covered in semen, and you're just slapping her with your dick, and there's nothing she can do because she loves it. It's what it is. That's what we are when we buy microtransactions. It's ridiculous. But this room's kind of hard, because you've got a Vanguard dashing everywhere, and you've got a bunch of lusts, and everybody in this room's going to devil trigger when this Vanguard goes down, and you want to make sure it's the Vanguard that dies first, because if he doesn't and he devil triggers, you're in for a world of pain. You're in for a Jesse Ventura of pain, and that is not a good thing. As you can see, I'm getting knocked everywhere. Little tip though that you might not be noticing, you do have a damage buff in Devil Trigger, but you also have a defense buff. So when I was getting hit there by the Vanguard charge, it did nowhere near the same amount of damage as it usually does. And that is one of the cool things about Devil Trigger. And I actually underuse Devil Trigger a lot in my gameplay, because I just do. I rely more on the Devil Trigger explosions than I do the benefits you get from Devil Trigger. This could actually be to detrimental effect, but I've never really noticed when I play. It's just one of those things that never really comes around. And this right now, this is not fun, this. All these fucking lusts constantly jumping at you. Like, the only way this would be enjoyable is if I could knock them all on their ass and juggle them. But I'm not any good at jump cancelling in the air, so it's not a possibility for me. But, like, oh, there we go. They can't interrupt it because I'm devil triggered. I love the real impact. It's such a cool move. And if you've played Devil May Cry 4, you can actually distort it with Devil Trigger, and it does so much damage. It is ridiculously damaging. As I try to capture people in the Ultimate Tempest, but it was the one time they weren't lunging in and trying to attack me, which is just ironic. But I am interested if anybody's got a positive opinion of microtransactions, or you've got a direction that you think they could go that would make them a valid part of the gaming community. Look at this shit, man. When I'm tapping and I'm getting all in the heated of the moment, apparently I hit my D-pad a lot, so that's why I keep bringing up maps and items and stuff. I don't mean to. It's just what happens when I get excited. But just look at this. When was the last time you watched somebody play a game and the normal standard enemies took this much damage? They killed it. They really did. Dante Must Die on this, big no-no for me. It's not as bad as what Devil May Cry 2 is, because that game is so tedious to play. You just get to the point where you look at the pad and you think, maybe if I smacked myself in the forehead with it and chipped my skull, I'd have more fun than what I am right now. But that's just because that game is terrible. But once you get back here, the Neo Generator is going to power up the bridge. You're now going to not have to Devil Trigger and lose any more life. And you can continue onwards to the boss fight, or the 2 boss fights of this level if you want to. There is Jester, but, you know, fuck Jester. I hate that boss so much. And all that's left to be done now is go down the stairs and be acquainted with Geryon. And I hate this boss so much, boys and girls. I hate this boss to death. But you're going to see that in the next video, because he's not too bad. He just does a lot of damage and he's cheap. But you could probably say that about 2/3 of the bosses in this game. So thanks for watching, and you take care.